Neeson was the president of Fox Century International, the film-making company. He had everything anyone could want. A 5-bedroom home in Brentwood and several others around the world. Fast cars, fast women, wealth beyond what you can imagine. The world was his oyster. He would take exotic vacations. He would hobnob with the rich and famous. Oh, wait a minute, he was the rich and famous. On one of his exotic vacations, he went to Cambodia. And it was when he was in the capital, Phnom Penh, he visited the Stang Min Chi garbage dump, where the children are known to pick through the dump for whatever they can find to sell for the day. Many of them are abandoned, orphaned. They live on less than $1 a day. Well, this was Scott's first existential crisis. The second came shortly after that, when he got a call from his staff. One of the actors who was on tour, you see, refused to get on the private jet that was sitting on the tarmac because the amenities weren't quite right. And according to the staff, he had said, "My life should not have to be this difficult." Well, I wonder when your first existential crisis happened. We've all had them, right? You know, you get out of college and you get your first real job and you're excited about what the future holds. And then the company downsizes. You get married to the love of your life, and then you realize that, relationships aren't all they're cracked up to be. You buy your first home, and then the bottom falls out and you're upside down in your mortgage. You have children, and then one of them has a health crisis or something else. Imagine if you're the parents of one of those 200 Nigerian girls that was kidnapped just a year ago now. Or imagine you put your relative on a plane and the co-pilot crashes it into a mountain. Imagine living in the crises that take place anywhere throughout the world. Imagine that you're the resident of a state whose legislature passes laws. Oh yeah, you are those residents. Imagine that you're a citizen of a country that sends drones throughout the world. And what you'll read in the news is the bad guys who got killed, but not about the innocents who were killed. Or you wonder when you might read in the news the next time a white police officer will kill a black person. There are existential crises waiting for us to confront, right? So in the book of Mark, because we know the story so well, we hear about Jesus' betrayal and denial and arrest and his beating and his death. But we might miss this little phrase, this little sentence that Mark puts in the middle of chapter 14. Right in the middle of this story, Mark says, all Jesus' disciples left him and ran away. One young man, a disciple, was wearing nothing but a linen cloth. They grabbed him, but he left the linen cloth behind and ran away. Well, we can hardly be surprised, right? They imagine what's going to happen to Jesus. They've seen already what's happened to him. They know he's going to die some untimely death, so no one can blame him. But Mark wants the reader to hear about this young man who wears the white linen robe of the martyr. You see, the early Christians were being martyred for following Jesus instead of worshiping the Jewish God, for following Jesus as God instead of worshiping the Roman Caesar. They were being hung on crosses. They were being persecuted. The white linen robe was saved for the martyrs, you see. And if you fled, you wouldn't wear the white linen robe. But Jesus is dead. All that's left is the grieving. All that's left is the mourning. All that's left is the being afraid. And yet, did you hear what Rick read? The women come to the tomb and they wonder, what's going to happen? And there's the young man with the white robe. And he's sitting on the right, that place by the throne of God, where those who are redeemed will sit. The reader, the early Christian, the follower of Jesus has an opportunity to see him or herself once again in the story. Only this time not fleeing, this time giving witness. In the midst of the terror, did you hear that? The terror the women felt because the tomb was empty. What does this mean? They have a chance to witness, to go back to Galilee. Do you remember what happened in Galilee? That's where Jesus began his ministry. That's where the healings started. That's where the confrontation of injustice started. That's where Jesus began to include the disenfranchised. That's where community was healed. That's where people found their sight who were blind, and their hearing who were deaf, and their clothes who were naked, and their communities who felt unloved. Mark wants us to be sure to have the opportunity to know that there will be existential crises, one after another in our life, because this world is a mixture, a mystery, combining life and death. And we have an opportunity, because it will always be fearful. And we can confront the fear, or we can run. We can follow Jesus and experience our own healing and invite others to come along, or we can hunker down. We can point to the empty tomb, the victory of life over death, of love over hate, or we can choose not to. Life is a mystery. And there's no one who writes about the mystery of the resurrection like Wendell Berry. I want to conclude with his poem called Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. Love, the quick profit, the annual raise, the vacation with pay. Want more of everything ready-made. Be afraid to know your neighbor and to die. And you will have a window in your head. Even your future will not be a mystery any longer. So, friends, every day, do something that does not compute. Because when they want you to buy something, they will call you. When they want you to die for profit, they will let you know. So, love God. Love the world. Work for nothing. Take all you have and be poor. Love someone who doesn't deserve it. Denounce the government and embrace the flag. Long to live in that free republic for which it stands. Give your approval to all that you cannot understand. Praise ignorance. For that which we have not encountered, we have not yet destroyed. Ask the questions that have no answers. Invest in the millennium. Plant sequoias. Say that your main crop is the forest, which you did not plant, and you will not live long enough to harvest. Say that the leaves are harvested when they've rotted into mold. Call that profit. Prophesy such returns. Put your faith in the 2 inches of humus that will build up under the trees every 1,000 years. Expect the end of the world. Laugh, for laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, even when you have considered all the facts. So long as women don't go cheap for power, please women more than men. Ask yourself, will this satisfy a woman satisfied to bear a child? Will this disturb the sleep of a woman near to giving birth? Go with your love to the field. Lie down in the shade, lay your head on her lap. Swear your allegiance to your closest thoughts. When the generals and politicians can predict the motion of your mind, lose it. Leave it as a sign to mark the trail you did not take. Be like the fox, leaving more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection.